Hi, it's Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and I am coming to you live December 2019. I hope you all are having a wonderful December. It has been a very busy one at Moogly. Usually I come to you the last week of the month doing the live, but here we are going, of course, a little bit early because next week is holiday week. There are so many events going on next week. Hanukkah, Christmas, probably a couple dozen more. Who knows? Point is, we're all busy. So I wanted to come to you before the holiday so I could wish you all a happy holiday, of course, but finish up sort of most of what's happening on Moogly this week so I can take next week off myself. I would like to spend some time with my family. Now, that said, there will be some awesome things happening on mooglyblog.com nonetheless. I have already put together a fun roundup every single day next week, so check that out. A little theme of projects and patterns you may have missed over the course of the year that I think are definitely worth checking out. Now, I am going to kind of refresh my little laptop right here so I can try and see the video that we're doing right now. Here we are. So I can follow along if you guys have any comments. I'm just going to get that loading up. Oh, yay. Hi, everybody. I can see you're here. Marissa, Virginia, Carrie, Teresa, Ghost Kid, little spooky, Sarah Mae, Kathy. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm so glad you guys are here. So I just came over from Facebook a few minutes ago. We were having some technical difficulties this morning getting this little setup all set up for you, but thankfully, it's working with YouTube. It didn't want to work with Facebook. But if you go to the link in the description, or if you're watching somewhere where you can't get to the description, just go to mooglyblog.com on your smartphone or wherever you are. And there is a post there. It's the first post on the page right now. And it will have links to everything I talked about on Facebook this morning, which is all the past patterns, as well as giveaways and things you might not have seen on YouTube. You'll definitely want to check that out. The Facebook video itself is embedded there. And of course, this video will be embedded there as well when it's done. However, that post will get knocked down just a little bit, just one, when this video is over, because I will be publishing one more bonus free pattern for the month. I hadn't planned to do another one this month, but I came up with something so simple, so quick, so easy, and such a great stocking stuffer this week that I wanted to share it with you right here last minute. So today on our YouTube video, we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to go ahead and do a live video tutorial for my newest pattern, not even published yet. We'll be publishing as soon as this is done. So again, if you want to go to mooglyblog.com, if you can't get to the link in the description, then there will be the new pattern on top, and then this one will be underneath. And that, of course, will be true until a new post posts on Monday, which will be December the 22nd. So point is, you can always go check this out on mooglyblog.com. There's a search bar too if you need it. And of course, a brand new pattern will be attached to this as well. So what are we making? We are making hyperbolic crochet scrunchies. And this is so fun and so simple and so easy. And of course, velvet yarn, I think this was one of the first things people started making when the velvet yarns came out, right? Because velvet scrunchies were everywhere. And I was not surprised. I got to be honest. I have an 18-year-old daughter. She's been wearing a scrunchie on her wrist for probably the last year. Occasionally she uses it in her hair, but it's always on her wrist. I realize if you look closely at the pictures of the Moroccan weekend wrap, you can spot the scrunchie on her wrist in some of those photos. We didn't even catch it when we were taking those pictures. So I was working on these, and they're just so fun, and it's so simple. Now, most scrunchies, what sets these apart, most scrunchies are sort of a tube, usually of fabric, but sometimes of yarn, that is made around the elastic. And that's great because it keeps the stretch, etc. But then you have to keep track of your stitches. You need to make sure you're not shrinking that tube or getting too big. You need to count your stitches. You need to work in a spiral or perhaps in rounds. This version, this way, no counting. You just make them till you make stitches till you cover the band and go from there. And if you miss one, honestly, probably nobody would ever know. It still stays stretchy. It's a little flatter, but you've got this great hyperbolic plane. And if you haven't done hyperbolic crochet before, it's just really simple, a lot of fun, very mathematical, but not so that you'd have to have math to know it. It's interesting. Hyperbolic crochet became quite a thing with the crocheted coral reefs. There were people studying how those things grow I'm not an expert on marine biology or math, but there were people studying how these things grow, and it turns out crochet was really helpful for them. There's some really interesting articles about it on the web. But it's also really fun for making projects like this. And I made each of these. I made 3 different ones in the 3 different Bernat Velvet yarns. I did, this one is, let's see, this one's just Bernat Velvet. This one was Bernat Baby Velvet. And then this one is the Bernat Crushed Velvet. So any of those work. Just need to adjust the hook size a little bit because they're a little different thicknesses. And these are all 3 rows, but you could keep going. You could make this 4, 5, 6 rows. Oops, keep bumping the mic here. And just keep going and make it as big and cool and, wiggly as you want. You can also play with the math of it. I'll show you how I made this, and of course there'll be a written pattern up here in a few minutes on Moogly, but it's incredibly simple, but you can play with it. Add more increases, take some away, get slightly different ruffly bits. It's just a really simple, quick, easy thing. You can whip these up on the go, throw these in your purse, take them with you as you're running around this holiday, and whip them up in just a few minutes at a time. So let's go ahead and come down to the desk here so I can demonstrate. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Chris. Thank you for volunteering to moderate. I appreciate it. I do need to get one of those, don't I? So first, let's talk about the yarn. Like I said, there are so many Bernat Velvets out now. We've got a little bit of a close-up so I can demo here in a minute, so I'll try and squeeze them in. But we can see there's the Bernat Baby Velvet, Bernat Crushed Velvet, and Bernat Velvet. And what I recommend when you make these, if I flip it over here, you could always find the recommended hook size on a yarn label. And you can see this one here recommends a K. So to make the scrunchies, I just like to go down a hook size. So I'd probably pull out a J. For the crushed velvet, let's see, it recommends a USI. That would be a 5.5 millimeter. Go down to a 5 millimeter. The baby velvet, they recommend an H, and I think I went down to a G for this one. The hook size itself doesn't even really matter. As long as you're comfortable with the fabric you're getting, have fun with it, play with it. Pick out whichever one of these you've got in stock. These use so little yarn. I didn't actually try and weigh out and count how much yarn it used, but literally just a few yards each. I've made them, you can see there's tons of yarn left in each of these skeins to make many, many, many more scrunchies. So with one skein of this yarn, if you do craft fairs or you've got a bunch of people to crochet for, man, you can make a ton of scrunchies all at once. So, oops, let me pull these out of the way here. So basically, all you need to make these scrunchies is hair bands, of course. I like the Goody brand, very standard, and crochet hooks and the yarn. So let me pull up, I've got a partial ball here of the Bernat Baby Velvet. This is actually left over from when I made the Bernat, oh gosh, what did I call it? The Velvet and Fur Christmas Stocking, that was it, when I made the Velvet and Fur Christmas Stocking. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab the smallest of these, because that's what I remember I used for this one, and pull out one of these hair bands right out of the package. We have so many of these packages around our house between myself and my daughter. It was not something I had to special order, but I do have a link to these in the pattern that will be coming out here in a few minutes. And basically, to make one of these, all you need, it's so simple. You guys are going to kind of laugh that I wrote this out, but it's so easy. We're going to stick our hook right in the middle of the hairband there. Just let it rest right on top. Then yarn over with your yarn, pull it through. Go ahead and yarn over and just make a little chain there. Sort of locks it right down there on your hairband. Chain 1. And then just start single crocheting right around the band itself. So you don't even have to chain really for this pattern, just that chain 1 to get you started. No chain to work into, just crochet right around the hairband. And we're not going to worry about how many stitches we're making. You just want to work nice and, not too tightly, but tightly right around the band so you can't see it in between your stitches. Doesn't matter at all how many stitches you make. Just keep single crocheting all the way around. I love this because it is so mindless. You can do this obviously while watching your Hallmark movies. You can do this, in those few minutes waiting for your kids' winter sing to begin. I'm a little sad. This year was our last winter concert for one of our kids. My sons don't participate in choir by their choice, and my daughter, who was always a really big singer, is graduating this year. So we had our last kids' winter concert this year, which was both wonderful and sad at the same time. But, you know, you've got all those moments during the holidays, you know, where there's a lot of hurry up and sit, hurry up and wait, get to that appointment, wait for things to begin. So you can just crochet these in those few spare moments, and boom, before you know it, you'll have more stocking stuffers done. So you can see I've worked all the way around the band. Now, if I want to, I can kind of squish those together a little closer, see if I can squeeze one more stitch in there. You just want to make sure it's really well covered. And Chris says, that's how you do the top of your messy bun hats? Yes, absolutely. A great way to do messy bun hats. Just start crocheting right around that ring and then work your way down for the hat. Same idea. So once you've got all the way around the hairband, all you need to do is slip stitch right in that first one to finish off that first round. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this end. And I could have started working over it in the first round, but I'm definitely going to work over it in this round. This yarn, because of the fuzz and the stickiness, so to speak, it doesn't like to frog, but this is going to work to our advantage. We can just crochet, and I don't normally say this, we can crochet over this end to work it into our project. We don't have to worry about weaving this one in. It's going to be okay. Like I say, I'm not usually a fan of that, but it's going to be okay. So we're done with round 1. How many stitches was it? I have no idea. It doesn't matter. Let's move to round 2. We're going to start by chaining 2, and that's our turning chain. We could do a fancy chainless starting double crochet, but you can't tell. Look at this. You'll never know. Go ahead and chain 2. Keep it easy. Then in each one of those single crochets, we're just going to work 2 double crochets. So I go right back in that first one, and now I'm going to start crocheting over that first end to trap it right in there. Just like I crocheted over the hairband, this time I want to crochet over that end. So I just work 2 double crochets in each one of these single crochets. And they are hard to spot. I'm not gonna lie. They're not easy to spot in there, but you can kind of just use your hook to poke in there, feel where the next one would be. If you've been crocheting for a while, you can kind of see there should be another one right here. You can actually feel it. Where does your hook want to go through? Yep, right there. There's the next one. Sort of feel. Just see right where your hook wants to go in. Again, with this yarn, it is going to be so forgiving in this project. If you end up skipping over a stitch, I don't think anybody would ever actually know until they, unless they sat down and really pulled it apart. And what kind of people do that with a gift? That's silly. Don't do that. Don't be that kind of gift receiver. If someone has handmade you something, it means they took the time to do something very special for you. So that's it for round 2. We are just going to work 2 double crochets in each one of those double crochets around. Like I said, very, very mindless. But this is where you can start playing with it too. If you like the ruffliness of the Hyperbolic and you want to go even crazier with that, work 3 double crochets in each one of these single crochets. There's no right answer or wrong answer. Work 2 in one, 3 in the next, go back and forth. Work 1 in one and just 2 in the next. Make it a little bit flatter if that's the look you prefer. It's really totally up to you. Just like the Hyperbolic's coral and sea creatures, you can definitely make these with all sorts of numbers. It's really, really easily customizable. So I'm just going to check on our comments real quick here and see if everybody's having a good time. Good, thank you. Yes, this yarn is yummy. You're right. Knots of Mayhem. Ooh, Knots of Mayhem. That's a great crochet name or knitting name. Although I would not want to try and untangle this yarn. I would not want to try and take the knots out of this stuff. That would be impossible. We'll just keep crocheting right over those. So basically that's it. We're just going to work 2 double crochets in each one of these stitches around. And then what do you think we'll do for round 3? The exact same thing. But because we have doubled the number of stitches here in round 2, when we make round 3 and work 2 stitches in each one of these stitches, that will be doubling it again. And that's what causes that great ruffling. We're not going for a flat circle here. We don't want even increases. We want these to go crazy and just start getting as ripply as we want them. So definitely play with those numbers. Like I said, add more rows if you want to. Don't worry about the actual stitch count though. Just keep crocheting just like so. And if you are worried about that end, if you're one of those people who just really, really wants to weave it in, you can leave a couple inches here and send it back the other way with your yarn needle when you're done. But otherwise, you're just going to keep crocheting on around. So I think you guys are starting to get the idea. Sonia just joined, so I'll keep talking about it. Sonia, we are making hyperbolic crochet scrunchies, hyperbolic velvet crochet scrunchies, I should say. These are made with any type of Bernat velvet yarn you have on hand. So if you made the velvet and fur Christmas stocking on mooglyblog.com, which does have right and left-handed video tutorials, you will have plenty of yarn left over to whip up a few of these matching scrunchies. And like I said, you will get dozens of these. Probably a lot more than dozens. I haven't done the math, but you can get quite a few from one skein of velvet. The trick is really just go down a millimeter size, I would say, on the hook. The velvet yarns, you do want to work these a little more tightly. Generally speaking, I wouldn't try and do something too loose and drapey with it. So the scrunchie project really is perfect because you can go down that hook size. It's still easy enough to work with, and you're going to get a really nice solid fabric. So we're just double crocheting 2 in each stitch around. I'm almost done with round 2 already, as you can see. Just yammering away, but these work up so darn quick. Like I said, I was working on these yesterday. I actually wrote the pattern as I was making them. It was just so fun. And I only intended to make one. And then before you knew it, I was like, well, I have to try it in regular velvet. This was the baby velvet. And then this one, I had to try it in the regular velvet, which I hadn't even used before, but love it. You can see it's a little bit bigger. This one is a 4 weight of yarn, and this one is a 5. And then when that was done, of course, something I've been waiting to try. Isn't this gorgeous? This is the Bernat crushed velvet. Absolutely lovely. I love the color changes in this. It's just got an even, if possible, an even silkier feel. This is gorgeous stuff. If you haven't had a chance to give this a squeeze in the store yet, definitely check it out. I do have links to the yarn in the written pattern that will be going up here on mooglyblog.com very shortly. And you can always get it at yarnspirations.com if it's not available in your local stores. Unfortunately, it's not up to Yarnspirations which yarns go in the store. It's up to the stores. So if there is a yarn you love from Yarnspirations and you're not seeing it in your store, please let them know. Go to their website, find that little contact us form at the bottom, and let them know what yarns you want to see. So here we are all the way around. Now I've got a little slip stitch right there just because, I can spot it. I know my crocheting rather. I would skip over this and go ahead and just slip stitch that first double crochet we made. But you know what? If you accidentally end up crocheting into that slip stitch, again, not a big deal. It's just going to add a little bit more ruffle, and that is not a problem. Now, round 3, exactly the same as round 2. Chain 2, 2 double crochets in each stitch around. So this one will take about twice as long as the previous round, so I may not demo it all right here, right now, but you get the idea. Just 2 stitches in each stitch around. Like I say, if you're having trouble finding where that next stitch is, I can see this is where I went in right here, and I just kind of feel with my hook. There it is, right on in. So as you make these, you kind of learn too the size of the stitches, and it's that much easier to spot them. And like I say too, if you end up skipping one, not a big deal. People probably aren't even going to be able to tell unless you skip a whole bunch. And then, if you're skipping every other one, well then heck, that's just a pattern feature. You're just making it your own and adding a little bit of lace to it. So feel free to play with this pattern. I will be putting up here in just a few minutes on mooglyblog.com the written pattern itself, so you'll be able to print that out. And of course, you can always reference this video as well, which I will also be embedding in the pattern as well as in the link that is in the description. And then, of course, that link will link to the pattern, so you'll always be able to find it on mooglyblog.com. But basically, that's all there is to making hyperbolic velvet crochet scrunchies. You can see here, I'll pull this one up. It's kind of easier to see in this lighter color. I've got a row of single crochet there, row of double crochet, another row of double crochet. Then all you do when you get to the end is break the yarn, put it on your yarn needle, and weave it in. I like to just kind of sew it to the last one and then send that end with my yarn needle. I'll pull that up here. I think I've got one in my little basket of tricks here. There we go. And then, there we go. So I would just send that on down and sort of weave it in either around the elastic itself or maybe in between that second and third row where it's easy to catch it. But it doesn't take much because this yarn doesn't like to frog. It's going to catch on itself, so you don't have to weave it in too crazy. And then when you're all done, of course, you've got a scrunchie. You can see if you stretch it, you can still see the band in it a little bit, but of course, you're probably not going to be wearing it fully extended. And when you put it on, There we are. It makes this really pretty, almost like a little rose or a little flower right around your hair. I think this would be really cute on little girls' buns or big girls' buns. 1, 2, however many you like to wear. It's so fun. And of course, still looks good on the wrist, which if you're if you're a lot of teens these days, seem to be the primary place they wear them, right? How cute is that? Super simple, super easy. Make it up basically as you go. Hyperbolic planes are some of the just fun, really fun things you can do with crochet. Like I say, they're considered very mathy, but it's really a very, very simple concept. You're just increasing like crazy, and that is it. You can make your very own hyperbolic velvet crochet scrunchies. Back to me. Sorry, working on our instructions here for back to me, but that's okay. Here I am. Yeah, so that's it. That is how to make the hyperbolic crochet velvet scrunchies. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. As soon as I get off here, I am going to be embedding this video in a new written pattern that will be going up on mooglyblog.com in a few minutes, and of course at the link in the description. I have links to the yarn. I have links to the hooks. I have, in the written pattern, I have paired each one of those Bernat velvet yarns with the appropriate hook size that I used here. That said, if you're like, oh gosh, I can't find my 5.5 millimeter, use a 5 millimeter. It's fine. Just go down a little bit from what's recommended on the label, and this is a very forgiving, very flexible pattern. Like I said, you can even work 3 stitches in each one if you want to make something just really, really ruffly and fun. And if you get a chance to Google hyperbolic crochet, it is really interesting how it's been used to study marine life and make those coral reefs and things like that. It's just kind of a geek out a little bit on crochet if you've got a little bit of time. It's a fun subject. So yeah, that's about it. I am so glad you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. Do check out the Moogly blog YouTube channel here. I've got lots of fun projects that I made this past month. The Moroccan Weekend Wrap is a great one. Probably getting a little close to make that one for a gift, but you can definitely make it for you after the holidays are over, or right now if you've moved on to Crochet for You, which if you have, that's awesome. Good for you. There's also the Nordic Star Christmas ornament. That is a great, super fast pattern. I think it's 55 yards of yarn, like 35 yards of one color and 25 yards of the other. Does that add up to 55? Whatever it is. It's really small amount of yarn. Definitely a great stash buster. Great if you're like our family. We have a ton of gift cards that family have sent us, but we don't really want to open till Christmas morning. So we're going to put those in there and hang them on the tree. And I was going to say a great comment here on YouTube. Somebody recommended filling them with potpourri. I love that idea, especially if you make it pine scented for your tree. And also a great gift topper. Heck, fill it with lavender sachet, whatever makes you happy. And then most recently, the gemstone cowl, which I'm wearing right here. This is a 1 skein cowl made with Red Heart gemstone, and it's part of 24 Days of Quickies with Marley Bird, which is still happening. She is sharing a brand new, I won't say 1 skein, but a small make it in a day pattern. There's knit, there's crochet. It's huge. It's wonderful. Definitely check those out. I've got that linked in the pattern for this one, which does, of course, have the right and left-handed video tutorials up. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Joyous Festivus, whatever you're celebrating this week. I hope you have a wonderful one. I hope everybody has safe travels. Good luck getting all your crochet and knitting projects done. Like I was saying last month, don't hurt yourself. Remember your arm stretches. And don't be afraid to give an IOU if necessary. Handmade gifts made with love are better than handmade gifts made with stress. So happy holidays, everybody. I will be back on the blog December 31st with all the details for Moogly Crochet Along 2020. So definitely come check that out if you want to participate in 2020. It's going to be lots of fun. I've got an amazing roster of designers lined up. Cannot wait for that first square to come in. So I will see you all soon. Happy holidays and have a great day, everybody.